fulfilling a need, that there be some information sent out that will allow a number of people to hear what I have to say. This message that I have to hand out, it's basically a story about history that's not spoken about originally. If you have an open mind, you should receive the information. Watch what happens on a day-to-day basis. So, in order for me to explain to you our track as human beings through a 60,000-year period, as opposed to the 6,000-year period religion would like you to believe, I'm going to have to try to break this down into a few component parts, because this whole process is so vast that it has to be absorbed through osmosis over a period of time to really grasp the significance of it all. But I'm going to try and give it to you in a format that will allow you to grasp major points. And we all know that 2020 is when you see clearly, and maybe with what you will hear today, it will help you overstand. And the word stand, of course, includes the letters DNA, which is a story that I'm about to tell you. A long, long time ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, a division occurred in the evolutionary line of an animal. And that division then created two significant new animals, one of which we know today as human beings. And the other one, not known to most people, but understood by scientists, the Neanderthaler. The Neanderthal animal and the human animal having had the same basic connection before the division occurred. And then the human animal continued on one path while the Neanderthaler animal went in another direction. If scientists are correct, all of this began in northeastern Africa. Neanderthal animal and the human animal having had the same basic connection before the division occurred. Human animal continued on one path while the Neanderthaler went in another direction. So let me begin by saying that these two animals were not living together at the beginning, although they were living concurrently. Same general area of North Africa, some would say north of the Mediterranean and around the Mediterranean. And of course we're talking about a time prior to the last ice age. And for 84,000 years, the scientists are correct, there were no men in the human animal. Mitochondrial DNA suggests that the original woman was a hermaphrodite. A hermaphrodite that could in fact give birth of clones of herself, and did so for a period of about 84,000 years, until at about 90,000 BC, a development came about and needed to subdivide herself into two people so that she could continue in her duties while a second version called man would be born. And that second version would be task-oriented, and that's where you began getting the division, of course, of gender and reproduction over time by sex rather than through the internal hermaphroditic way. My personal interpretation of what has happened is that creation knows everything. However, creation has never experienced anything. And the creation of life on planet Earth is basically an experiment to figure out exactly what advantages there would be to creation, not only to know, but to have experienced. And every grain of sand, every blade of grass, every cloud in the sky, every tree, every bird, every animal, every person is a collector of information. And that information is gathered up and stored in a way that can be retrieved by creation. I do not mean God. We'll get to God later. Creation is not a person, but a process through which we got to where we are today. So, creation defines DNA as one of the methods of receiving and storing information and passing it on from one part of life to another part of life. Into what I believe to be the gray matter in the spine of the ancient history, and the part that forms intuition rather than reason. I look at square that graduates receive. I think it's noteworthy that it's designed to cover the hair and replace it with an artificial tassel that represents the hair that was on the head, so that the information the person has received comes from a source which is different than where intuition comes from. There is little information known about the journey of the other animal called the Neanderthaler, because I believe the information is being withheld. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that it's being withheld and released only to certain groups of people, and the information released in a coded form to the agents of the Neanderthal. By the way, the word Neanderthaler is subdivided into two parts. Nean is the word Dean, Dino, Dina, as in Pasadena, are all names that come into play here and suggest that Neanderthaler didn't disappear forever and ever, but basically disappeared for a purpose. And the purpose can be better understood if one goes over to the other division of the word Neanderthaler. And the word Thaler is the German word for dollar. So the word Neanderthaler therefore translates to deans of dollars. The name given to his society is that of Moostri. And the Moostrian society in caves are known to contain artifacts that suggest Moostrians brought forth fire. Fire led to cooking. In order to do the cooking, they had to come up with an invention, and that's the spear. And if one follows the code through, you would of course get to a place in our history where shaking the spear becomes important, and that leads you to the name of Will I Am Shakespeare. A book of codes that allows those in the know to access information about the past that is not discussed in normal universities, but it is discussed in specialized universities aimed at monarchs and clerics and leaders of the world, that links in the way future called roads, with R-H-O-D-E-S, as opposed to roads we are showing. Brought forth fire. So the Neanderthaler, a person linked to cooking, a person linked to weapons, a person linked to fire, is living a concurrent life to the human life that is happening in the Afar Triangle of Ethiopia. And at one stage of the game, 84,000 years after arrival of woman, development came about, and one stage later on, the coming together of the two basic groups, Neanderthalers and human beings, occurs until they got into a fight. There's a suggestion that among the Neanderthals there is a significant number of people whom today we would refer to as idiot savants. I guess the most famous movie made is The Rain Man with Tom Cruise. It suggests that in the Neanderthal group there is a certain group of people whose brains function on a much higher level than the rest of the people, especially of the clan mothers and their men. However, the price they pay for having access to that much higher level of intellect on a very specific part of knowledge is that they become lower in their abilities on practically everything else, and therefore they need assistance from the human species. Neanderthals became jealous of clan mothers. And in their jealousy, they began to plan a war against women. Now, there is no evidence on the planet that I have been able to locate that suggests that full-blown war was ever contemplated until about 10,000 BC, which is at the end of the last ice age. And yet, the problems with the Neanderthals and the humans begun to surface at about 59,000 BC and evolved into full-blown hatred by the Neanderthals and the clan mothers by a period of about 40,000 BC. And a decision to do something about it was made at a time somewhere between 30 and 25,000 BC. But that required changes to occur to the Neanderthaler themselves. The coding suggests that over time, an evolution of knowledge occurred among Neanderthals at a rate much faster than that acquired by human beings. And the suggestion that comes through intuition and the coding structure is that a computer in the form of Neanderthals was assembled. Now this may sound a little strange, and I'm not asking anyone to believe me without doing any research of your own. But how I have been able to view this in a more modern fashion is by looking at a vehicle and seeing the distributor cap function and how it connects together the activity of 8 different cylinders, making it possible to cause one cylinder to go down while another one goes up, and everything done in sequence allows more power so there is a cumulative effect of being able to interconnect into a single center. Going back to the Neanderthal, and the fact we know that they had a very significant number of idiot savants that was able to link to the savant part of the brain while ignoring the idiot brain. Going back to the Neanderthal, and the fact we know that they had a very significant number of idiot savants. One should try to imagine the creation of a chemical computer that was able to link to the savant part of a brain while ignoring the idiot part of the brain. And if you could do that with significant numbers, number suggested is 144,000 sections into one place. You might be able to develop a computer way beyond what we know today. It's significant that in the genome, the numbers 125 to 145,000 suggest the total instructions that are involved with DNA. And the genome is designed to name each one and identify their very basic and specific purposes and how they come together and how few of them are used in making a human being. Figures that I've been told are that although there are over 100,000 different instructions in DNA form, the human being operates with 25,000 of these instructions. So think of yourselves as being made up of 25,000 information bits, of which you in fact only need maybe 3,000 or 4,000 to function, and the others are in reserve. And it's a long story, genetic engineering. And I can't stop at this moment in time to identify everything that is possible in that stage. But let me just try to describe how the Neanderthaler would have made their way to that place. They were living in mines. Their mines, the result of having found minerals in the caves that they habitated in. And as mineralogy became known, and it would have to be known when one would develop the next stage away from stone into a metal head for an arrow or a spear, for example. Metallurgy was probably the first industrial activity that developed while Neanderthalers lived in caves. One thing you learn about metallurgy is that no metal is basically pure. If it is melted down, molten metal can be broken down into its component parts, and one finds different structures that can be separated out of the metal to give different elements, and that those elements can be recombined to make a different product than the one began with. It's basic chemistry. If one has that general knowledge, and one then asks the question, well, if you can break down metals to their basic component parts, is it not possible to break down vegetables? And testing proved that it could. These are guys that had a lot of time on their hands. They either worked at mining, at the chemistry side of things, or they stood up on top of the mountain, studied the skies, and wrote down where stars were on any single night. Over a period of thousands of years, started to understand precession and the fact that everything always kind of goes around and comes back to where it was, and started making calendars of events and stuff like that. And they wanted a method, basically, of storing the information they were gathering so that it would be available from one generation into the next. Chemistry, botany, all chemicals mixed together brought them around to one day saying, hey, if it's in metal, if it's in vegetable, should it not therefore be the premise of animal? And of course, from animal, humans. chemistry, botany, all chemicals mixed together, brought them around to one day saying, hey, if it's in metal, if it's in vegetable, should it not therefore be the premise of animal? And of course, from animal, humans. Development over time of an understanding of this chemistry. And of course I'm simplifying things and I'm shortening time because these people had all kinds of time in the world. And there are many things that were done prior to the Ice Age that suggest could not be done unless they had a computer. And of course, the most natural computer they had were brains. And if you could get to communicate between all of these and make them into one central computer that would hold all of the information that could be retrieved, you can imagine the pace and development you would get in the Neanderthal community to what you would get in the community of human beings. So these guys in the mountains, they had one hell of an advantage. And while they were there, some of them came up with the idea that why should they do any physical work, when all of these people down there could in fact be conscripted into a force of individuals working together on the Neanderthals' behalf. One hell of an advantage. Priests have power today. But they had to gain that power somehow. Section. Ecclesiastics, which basically encompasses all priests, monks, reverends, whatever you want to call them, all have a function, and that is to be an intermediary between creation, supposedly the creator, and the individual. Yet we know that creation is a process. a person. And we have to come to terms with the fact that someone along the line wanted to control people, and to control people's sections, that someone had to pretend to be creation. Someone along the line wanted to control people, and to control people, that someone had to pretend to be creation. Well, in a world of hunters and foragers, the only slave that existed at the beginning was a dog. And someone could throw a spear or shoot an arrow and kill a bird or a rabbit, send the dog out to retrieve him. I suggest it's symbolic of the original way of getting things. The word dog priest applies here. A priest has a dog. So priests are agents who go and fetch things and bring them back to the superior ones. The superior is the top dog, and the top dog will suggest that if you reverse the word dog, you have the word dog. So God sends out his dog, fetch things from the community and bring it back.
Do you believe in God? of God than yours is not the same. I believe in creation as having begun the entire process. You believe in Creator, the hijacker, through genetic engineered means, creating intelligent design. They are genetic engineers who have changed creation for their benefit. They want to collect taxes on everybody on this planet, eventually in the entire solar system, and if they get around to it, the entire universe.
Here we have this group of people who understand the basic structure of alchemy, metallurgy, botany, chemistry, genome, DNA. Think about cloning as a bartender who sits in front of 144,000 bottles, each one having a specific instruction. You begin to make a cocktail. You have to get an egg from an existing woman, open it up, throw out her material, and then go through assembling 25,000 bits and pieces of information and closing it back out, and then they need a surrogate mother in which to implant this egg so it can be carried to term. And a nunnery in the beginning would be a great place to have that happen. God wants it that way, and everybody knows that what God wants, God gets.
Human beings were genetically engineered before the Ice Age. The Ice Age began in 24,000 BC. Let's go into hiding. Let's shut down what we did, and let's start up genetic engineering. So they went into hiding 24,000 BC off of Antarctica. And while in hiding, they prepared to put human beings back in circulation that have been genetically engineered. So, at about halfway through the Ice Age, about 8,000 years later, they began to put out people. See how they survived without any of the knowledge we have, they said. And people lived in caves and survived. And then they said, okay, let's feed them some information through a group we'll call priests. How do they get to all this all? Because they have the knowledge. They know what's going to happen before it happens. And with the knowledge comes the money. So they set up a system where they can steal money from the average person called a stock exchange. And they know when the bears are going to win. They know everything about everybody. So they collect semen from semen to get all the data about races. And then they latch themselves on to things like prison. And when you have a prison, well, you know, this man here murdered. So did this one. So did that one. That one didn't leave him out. Okay. Now you've got a whole stream of murderers. You get their semen and you go through the genetic research to find out what do they have in common. And you get to find out this is the murderer's gene. Or this is the baseball player's gene. All you gotta have is a whole bunch of experts at one particular task, and they'll have a common theme. And you put those in a bottle, and then you inseminate your nuns. Not when they first come in. They don't know what's going to happen when they first come in. But along the way, they want to be promoted. Hey, you got to be married to Jesus. So lie down here, have a drink of vodka, and we'll be back with a specialist whose job it is to artificially inseminate. Do you get the process? 4 generations for each one. I always look at it like you went into a bar and you saw the bottle. That scotch from Scotland, that scotch from the U.S., that scotch from Canada. So, what do you want? You want scotch? Tell me how defined you want that scotch to be. You want it to come from a cold country, a warm country, You want it to come from people who are experts over millennia? Or do you want it from the guy who's opened up the shop in his backyard garage? You tell me and I'll give you what you want. Same thing happened to eggs from women who are opened up and you know what's in it, and then you make a recipe and then you implant it in a nut. You get the process. Why do they call orphaned children left at the gate foundlings? Is it because they found them? No. It's because they are the foundation to what we're going to do next. The rest that sits on the foundation can come and go, can disappear. But the foundation is there on which to rebuild. What was the first place occupied by Vikings who came to North America and nobody took any note of? They called the place Newfound Land, an island in the Atlantic Ocean. They call it Newfound Land. 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years BC and 2,000 years since, a process was set in motion by a woman who called herself God. Mother Superior. And soon, Mother Superior will press the button that will cause Lake Superior an inland tsunami, which will destroy the wall that contains it, called Michigan. And the water will flow. Where did they go to? These explorers who were setting up the system. Washed in tons. A ton is 2,000 pounds. Washed in 2,000 years. Within this century, 2,100. 2 in 1. Do you get the process? You will know, and things will be made possible when the time for you is right. And the timing is different for each individual based upon the circumstances put in front of them at any given moment. Some people want to move forward and can't. We call those broken wings. Other people don't want to move and have the circumstances that would allow them to move. Broken wings. They are people who need assistance. Like a bird with a broken wing could use the help of somebody who comes and puts some kind of brace on their wing and allows it to heal. That's what I'm trying to do.
You're helping activate something that's already there.
Yes. Part of fixing a broken wing is providing people words for things they already know. Providing resources for things they already know. If you have been able to grasp the concept and you have learned the premise that I'm describing, your DNA will be remembered with creation. It will be placed into creation and you will live forever as cells within creation. Creation was not born on this planet. Creation was not born in the solar system. Creation was not born in the universe. It created the universe, the solar system, and the planet. It's all up to you. You're given a task while you're on this earth to accumulate information, experience things, learn from it, and carry that message back to creation.
Let me give you a what if. Over the last 8-10 years or so, we've seen cataclysmic events occur. We've seen 9/11. We've seen earthquakes in Pakistan. We've seen volcanoes. You've seen hurricane destruction of New Orleans and earthquakes happening in China. All of this activity is happening in that ring around the world that is the empty quarter, known as, within insider circles, the empty quarter. That space of 45 degrees from the 8th parallel, Costa Rica, to the 53rd parallel, James Bay in the north, with the exception of a part of Ontario, which is known as the visor on the cap. If you think about the circular cap worn by the Pope and by rabbis, the 45 degrees remaining in the northern hemisphere will include the space from the 53rd degree to the 90th degree, which is above us, and the 8 degrees from Costa Rica down to the equator below us. And of course, the rest of the southern hemisphere is scheduled to stay on for 1,000 more years. So if you read mythology, the mythology of India, the mythology of Japan, the mythology of Persia, mythology of Egypt, mythology of Rome, and the Scandinavian mythology, you will find that the plan for what is about to occur is written as stories in the mythology. The plan is always identified by a capital letter E, which has 3 and 1 holding it all together. So you have the corporations, and you have the government, and in the middle you have the media, and over on the side you have religion, which holds it all together, the capital letter E. And if you notice these days, the capital letter E is being shown on an angle. Something is about to knock it over on its side. Global warming is what they call it. But the plan to destroy this area of the northern hemisphere has been in place for thousands of years. The Norse mythology of Scandinavia, a country in Germany, Holland, Belgium, call this Ragnarok, Agnarok, Magnarok, Blackwater, and everything I have deciphered leads me to believe that this is what is about to happen. 3 events. Anytime now, from the year 2008, as we enter the age of Aquarius, water contained in containers is the symbolism. And 2062. It comes every 75 years, which is to give you a hint about the number they're talking about in reverse and upside down is the omega number, and it's 75 if looked at in one direction and turn it around, it looks like 57. And this is what this story is all about. You have basically three organizations that have been set up in order to strip you of everything you have. The front organization is where you get your job, your transnational corporation. By transferring all of the value onto an international stock market, it allows people from outside your country to come in and scoop up everything that's on the stock market and bring it back. And of course, before the scooping is done, then crisis must be brought about in order to cause the value of the stock market to drop. And nothing is better than a banking crisis. During Reagan's years, they basically stripped the savings and loans. And now, during George Bush's period, they're basically stripping the value of the stock market. One more cataclysmic event in the United States, and the value of the shares in the United States will drop to almost nothing. And it's being prepared for. You are living in a time called the Age of Aquarius. You've lived through the passage. That's why the word pass was included in this year's Rose Bowl parade. The passport to world's festivals. Estival, the Eastern Valleys, is basically what it means. Enter the pass age. Since 1998-99, you've seen the economy of the United States being totally undermined by technology transfer outside the country. Which means when you go, the technology you developed in the United States will continue to operate because the property will be somewhere else. How many people on the stock market front for other people who front for other people who front for other people, and the transfer of real property is on its way out. We are being called peas in a pod by the advertising media and by podcasts that come out of an iPod. And the pea in the pod is significant because everything this plan has in mind refers to the word green. And in their language, it means heal. Ici. Ici is French for heal. Medici. Green. It's the green revolution that the politicians want you to adopt. You're willing their will when you say you want change, and they're not more specific about what change it is you're looking for. They have change in mind for you, but it has nothing to do with the change you're expecting. What it has to do with is your destruction. The mining industry is involved, particularly the coal mining, and you've heard of all the problems with coal mining over the last few years. You've heard about how a bridge in Minnesota at one end lifted up, moved sideways, and dropped down again, and the whole bridge collapsed. That's because something is going on underneath. And the something going on underneath can only be explained if you follow a lot of the activity in the coal mining industry. Michigan is in mortal danger. Michigan, as you know, has a peninsula leading into the Great Lakes. Another peninsula coming down from further north into the Great Lakes. That used to be an area called the Great Sea at the time of the melting of the glaciers. Agassiz, Great Sea. CZ, top, is part of the cove. And this Great Sea needs to be reconstructed again. So you've had mining for copper in Lake Michigan area. You've had salt mines emptied out under Detroit. You have iron mines at Duluth, Minnesota. All of that leaves spaces underground that once something cataclysmic occurs, everything will collapse. And what you will have happen is basically an induced nova. The nova basically means that everything starts churning. It falls into holes, it mixes in with the water, and it only lasts for a limited period of time, but everything in its path of this nova is destroyed. Mountains can topple. Lakes mix in. It's coal seams across America, from Lake Superior all across the north and then down into Salt Lake City, Utah, and below, all the way to Yuma, bringing with it all of the land above it and all of the water that is today the Great Lakes, the big lakes in Manitoba, the artificial movement of water from the reservoirs in Saskatchewan. Whole area across the United States, above Costa Rica and Central America, all the way up to the 53rd parallel, which is basically 2 degrees parallel below the Alaskan Panhandle on the BC border. The collapse of the United States in this fashion, along with the destruction of the oceanfront property in the east on the Atlantic, on the west in the Pacific, and the combination of the eastern side sending tsunamis up into the Gulf of Mexico will destroy populations on the coast. An International Space Station run by so-called tourists who've been up to take their training and see how things are over the last few years on Russian spacecraft. $20 million apiece. Sent back to man the International Space Station. Controlling the Hubble telescope, reversing it and using it as an amplifier of light, can be focused on a celestial body, whether it be a comet or the moon or what have you, and create a supernova, causing rocks to fall from the sky. Try to imagine what the United States would look like. And when I say the United States, I don't limit it to the United States. It's the entire developed area of the Northern Hemisphere. Starting at one end with Japan, China, coming in to all of the countries in the middle, including India, Egypt, all of Europe, England, with the exception of everything above the 53rd parallel. Southern Canada, the United States, Mexico, Nicaragua, many of the Central American countries above Costa Rica. All of that is scheduled to be destroyed as things are moved from one place to the other. And the period in time is now. 2008, bottom line, 2062, top line. 3 events. Rocks from the sky, a nova creating fire and brimstone from below, and floods. And once it's all over, Ragnarok says that a number of people will be brought to Valhalla. Valhalla is exactly where I'm sitting right now, in the spur, which is the boot of Ontario. But it's also the visor on the cap that will remain in the north, because this is the Canadian shield. And it says in the mythology that the place will be protected by shields. rocks from the sky, a nova creating fire and brimstone from below, and floods. And once it's all over, Ragnarok says that a number of people will be brought to Valhalla. Valhalla is exactly where I'm sitting right now, in the spur, which is the boot of Ontario. But it's also the visor on the cap that will remain in the north, because this is the Canadian shield. And it says in the mythology that the place will be protected by shields.
Flashes of light, roars of thunder, and the worst earthquake in all history. Every island ran away, and the mountains disappeared. Hailstones, weighing about 100 pounds each, fell from the sky.
If you have been able to grasp the concept, and you have learned the premise that I'm describing, your DNA will be remembered with creation. It will be placed into creation, and you will live forever as cells within creation. And I have been told that a small group of people chosen to be on the vortex of what is about to occur will be guided by cats to position themselves for a movement to the fifth dimension.
I will not stand by and allow the government to participate in a plot to destroy our American neighbors or our neighbors around the world. And I may not be able to stop them on my own. And I need assistance. I think the critical mass necessary for stopping them in their tracks is 13 people. I've been looking for those 13 people.
You have creation. to this court and you're asked 3 questions. What did you know? When did you know it? And what did you do about it? Exist at the beginning. Creation existed at the beginning. Creation is not a person. It's a process. Creation, one day, in a discussion through whatever you want to call it, mental telepathy or whatever, was told that it was all wrong. And the nun said, "Let me be in charge." And to make a long story short, it was finally determined that Mother Superior would be given power that belonged to creation. And over time, excuse the language, but Mother Superior fucked it up. She attacked the problem as not helping others, but benefiting personally. For example, if I was the King of England and I sent somebody over to the United States, I said, I want you to build 13 colonies over there, set up, collect taxes, send me the money back, and operate as if you were me over there, found out that Mother Superior wasn't sending back to the king what should have gone to the king, but was keeping a side pot for herself. And although she was known as governor, she began to act as if she was creation. That couldn't last forever. You have creation. They have created a court called the pineal court, which is matched to the thing in the head called the pineal gland, which is total memory. Everything you've done all your life is recorded in your memory. You may not remember it, but it's there. And when you die, you are sent to this court. Try to imagine, and I'm imagining in order to explain, big widescreen TV, a judge behind a curtain, and you on a chair in front of an audience looking in, and you're asked 3 questions. What did you know? When did you know it? And what did you do about it? And when you go to speak, your mouth doesn't function. You can't open your mouth. But on the screen, your pineal gland plays back exactly the answer to the question. What did you know? When did you know it? And what did you do about it? So you are in fact testifying against yourself, albeit involuntarily, and much of the time not remember. But the audience can tell. And when your answers are completed behind the screen where resides creation, an answer comes out. Guilty or not guilty, or didn't matter. Sentence, one of 3 P's. Paradise is number 1. Purgatory is number 2. Pacific is number 3. Now, to understand where Pacific comes in, you have to know that the court is in Antarctica. in a place where few people want to go. And it's under ice. And if you are sentenced to paradise, they don't call it paradise, by the way, they call it the fifth dimension, which we have no concept of because we live in a four-dimensional universe and perfect speed is not part of it, but in fifth dimension is another place where perfection exists. Purgatory, which if you mispronounce it, it's purgatory. Purgatory is a list of those in waiting. How many people are in paradise out of the 7.5 billion who've lived and died? The rest are in purgatory, waiting for an opportunity to go into paradise. But there isn't much space to go in because Mother Superior has filled it with nuns who have not earned paradise. They were given the right of control by creation at one stage of the game that was wide open, let's see what you can do better type of thing. Bureaucrats and nuns is coming to an end. And many people who are in purgatory should be in paradise. And many people who are in paradise should be in purgatory. So that there is ongoing at this moment in time, as a lead up to the change that will occur, a cleansing of paradise. Going through, picking out all the people that don't belong there, moving them out. And searching through the lineup of purgatory to see who are the people who should have been there and moving those people. Not too many people should have been there, and not too many people in paradise should have been in paradise. Many of them belong in Pacific. Now, what does that mean? Pacific is the modern equivalent of the word hell. If you're found to have been genetically engineered in a manner insulting to creation, self-serving to yourself or your beneficiaries, you will be sentenced to Pacific. What does that mean? It means that on a block of ice, 40 by 40 or 25 by 25, depending on whether you're going with your offsprings or alone type of thing, you will be placed on water outside Antarctica on the Indian Ocean side of things, and that block of ice will move as all ice moves across the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean and arrive at a place where tectonic plates below the water come together so that all of this matter goes to the core and melts, and therefore is eliminated. Period. So that combination of genetics never gets made again. Lesson learned. Creation is taking back control. And the people who lived normal, less than self-serving lives, the penalty will be the possibility of continuity, paradise, purgatory. None is painful in either one. But the difference between the two is that one serves creation, the other one serves mankind. And the only way you can move from mankind to creation is if someone, somewhere, does something that is not self-serving and intended for the most honorable person in purgatory. So, a court that will realign what was intended by creation at the beginning and the removal of the power that was transferred under that agreement. And that's what they're doing now. How can I demonstrate what was intended by creation? anyone else in the future who in fact arrives at the gate purgatory or to the point that decides whether or not you go into purgatory or sent forward. When you arrive there, you will know that you have arrived. Whether they got there because they died or were assisted before they died. You arrive at a door, and outside that door there will be a red chair.
What did you know?
On that chair will be sitting Jennifer.
When did you know it?
I record the fact that you have arrived.
And what did you do about it?
You may say, how can you prove this? My answer to you is, I have evidence. No proof exists for anyone till they arrive. Therefore, leaving the doubt to each individual to deal with as they choose. But whatever decision they make before they get there, they will one day be Jennifer's the red chair.
What is going on is cleansing the planet here. A court that will realign what was intended by creation at the beginning and the removal of the power has begun. So, on the one hand, creation is dumping all the nuns back out of what Christians, I guess, would call heaven. They call it fifth dimension. If you're found to have been genetically engineered in a manner insulting to creation, they will be treated as they treat trees who carry the Dutch elm disease. And what they always do is they find these elms that were in the past used along sidewalks and have developed this Dutch elm disease. There is no cure
cut down, well, they will be treated as if they have a disease.
So that combination of genetics
That must be destroyed
never gets made again.
and never allowed to affect anything else again. So each one of them separately,
Lesson learned.
when found guilty by creation,
Creation is taking back control.
will be put on a block of ice and sent to the Pacific. The 25-foot cube will take them there just in time to have melted underneath their feet.
What did you know?
And at one stage in the game,
When did you know?
there's no more ice, and they just sink to the bottom.
And what did you do about it?
Would this be happening? Like, are they physically?
Yeah, what happens, I'm told that I have been shown things that make me believe is that while they are being tried,
The world run by bureaucrats and nuns.
they have had their DNA reviewed
Is coming to an end.
so they can be looked at by the audience. And therefore, when they're found guilty, they go to the ice cube in that condition.
Is this like a process that takes years?
I don't think it takes years. It's something like a storm generated out of the Indian Ocean. Might take a week or two to get to the Pacific and start running up. So I don't know the exact time, but the combination of hitting warmer and warmer water will eventually remove anything to stand on.